Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kikuyo. The title of today's Dharma talk is Create Pockets of Contentment. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. As I record this talk, there's a blizzard going on outside. There's heavy snowfall. The temperature drops to about -10 at night, and during the day it barely hits double digits. Thus, it's a very dangerous situation for anyone who happens to be outside, and I was quite concerned for my animals, namely my rabbits and my chickens, when I found out this storm was coming. Thankfully, there wasn't a ton I needed to do to prepare for this bad weather. The strategic use of tarps and plywood to keep out the wind, some extra bedding for them to snuggle into at night, and so far everyone's been okay. That said, there was one problem that I wasn't able to get around. Due to the low temperatures, their water keeps freezing. So I have to go out several times a day and exchange their frozen water for the fresh liquid kind, so they have something to drink. During these moments, I experience a very interesting dichotomy. I fight my way through the blizzard and I experience all the suffering that one would imagine from that. Frozen fingertips, the wind hitting me in the face. But when I get to the animal enclosures and open them up, the rabbit hutch, let's say, I find that everyone's warm and snug inside. Maybe a little grumpy if I've woken them up from a nap, but such is life. The point is that my animals haven't escaped the blizzard by any stretch of the imagination. The snow is still falling, the temperature is still well below zero, but their enclosures are built in such a way that they have a pocket of contentment right there in the midst of the suffering. Associated with the blizzard, they're able to find happiness. Now, we do this in homesteads. We also do this in traditional Buddhist practice. In the Vimalakirti Sutra, for example, we find Vimalakirti, a deeply realized lay Buddhist teacher who is on his deathbed. And in order to pay their respects, bodhisattvas from far and wide come from various universes to say hello and goodbye. During the course of the conversation, they begin speaking about their own Buddhist Pure Lands and what's going on therein. A Buddhist Pure Land is a place that's perfect in order for someone to realize realization, realize enlightenment based on their own level of attainment. So, for example, we have the Bodhisattva of wonderful fragrances who uses wonderful food and good smells in order to lead people to enlightenment. Now, me being a nerd, I often think of the Bodhisattva of wonderful fragrances as an ant, because ants use food and pheromones, wonderful fragrances, in order to keep everyone working together in the colony, but I digress. The point is that these bodhisattvas, being to have attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, full and complete enlightenment, do not take responsibility for every piece of suffering everywhere in the universe. Rather, they carve out small pockets for themselves, and they create pockets of contentment. They create Buddhist Pure Lands, and they say that they will end suffering for everyone their end. So, once again, we have a situation where people do not escape the suffering, the blizzard of samsara per se. Rather, they have a shelter, they have an enclosure, and anyone within that enclosure is able to be saved from suffering through the actions of the bodhisattva who's taken responsibility for it. Now, we, as human beings, don't have the miracle powers of a bodhisattva, but we can do exactly what they do. My homestead and the animal enclosures here are proof of that. We can use our hands, our bodies, our speech, our mind to create pockets of the world. Small areas where we take responsibility, where we say we will end suffering for everyone who comes within this small bubble. We can create our own Pure Lands here on earth. Now, how we do this will vary from person to person, in the same way that all the bodhisattvas in the Vimalakirti Sutra create their own pure lands and suffering in very specific ways to them. So maybe if we like to cook, the way we end suffering is we make good food for everyone who sits down at our dinner table. If we like to clean, well, maybe what we do is ensure that the floors are always mopped and the bathroom is always clean and the bed is always made for anyone who comes into our home. If we work at a store or an office, maybe we're the person who comes in every morning and makes the coffee so that everyone can start their day on a good note. As Buddhists, we can use our inner wisdom, our creativity, to decide where we want to create our own Pure Land, our own pocket of contentment, and what we want to do in that place to end suffering for ourselves and others. Now, while we're doing this, we must also remember to create pockets of contentment for ourselves. We are Buddhas, and we also deserve all the wisdom and compassion that we are showing to other people. Now, how we create our own pocket of contentment will again vary from one person to another. Maybe we like to take long, luxurious baths at the end of the day to relax and get away from the world. For me personally, I see the meditation hall as my pocket of contentment. When I'm having a rough day, I come here, and it's through chanting and meditation and sutra study that I'm able to realign myself and prepare myself before I go back out into the blizzard and the suffering of samsara with a new mind ready to go. My point is that we can create pockets of contentment. We can create pure lands for ourselves and others. It only takes a little bit of creativity and some preparation. And if each one of us do this, if we all work in concert, taking a tiny piece of samsara and making it as good as we possibly can, saving all of the sentient beings therein, it's only a matter of time until all beings are saved from suffering. Amitabha.